My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And today I want to answer the question, does pornography cause erectile dysfunction? And I was also going to answer the question, does pornography have any benefits? But as I was doing the research for this show and trying to describe the problems as I see it, I realized this right up front, is that I need to do a separate show on that. Because of the problems that I'm seeing, I don't think pornography is going to help anybody at all. There will be no benefit to it if you have certain mental health issues to start. I think you need to be a healthy human being before you would think about introducing pornography to help out your sex life. So I'm going to use that on a separate show. So does porn cause erectile dysfunction? Let me kill the suspense right now, right up front. I would say that the excessive importance that people put on pornography can be a symptom of the fear of partnered sex, but it's not a cause of it. So let me give you some information as we go, and I can prove my point to you. So in order to answer the question about erectile dysfunction, we need to have a working definition. So what is erectile dysfunction? It's when a man cannot maintain an erection for sexual activity. Now that's a pretty broad definition. What is the sexual response cycle that we would say that would include this sexual activity? And Masters and Johnson has already come up with 4 stages for this. And this would be the excitement phase, plateau, orgasm, and resolution. Now there's been some other stages that were put out there by some other people, but it still basically comes down to the same 4. This one would be, say, desire, excitement, orgasm, and resolution. Either way you look at it, what you're looking at is taking a person that's just there, and then they become aroused, and then they go through the stages through orgasm, and there you have it. Now, when we're looking at people that are using porn, and more specifically, we're talking about younger men today, and we can use older men in this category as well. If they are spending this inordinate amount of time on pornography, we can say that they are going through the sexual response cycles. So men who can move through the sexual response cycle to pixels on a screen, to computers, to their phone, maybe even pictures, but they can't move through the sexual response cycle with an actual human being, they don't have erectile dysfunction. They have insecurities. They have low self-esteem. They have fear of intimacy, and probably performance anxiety. So if you can perform by yourself and for yourself, but not with others or for others, you don't have a penis problem. You have an inability to connect with other human beings. You have mental health issues that you need to take a look at. It's not a physical issue. And no, porn did not cause the inability to share your erection with other people. Without porn, you wouldn't be active at all, and that would be worse. So we have to look at it like this. It's like a muscle, right? So you want to be able to use it. It stays healthy that way. Let's say you're afraid of intimacy. You don't have social skills. You're afraid to go through the trouble of being with a woman, of potentially not satisfying her. These things can be scary. Every man has to go through this. But you've decided that it's better to be by yourself than to go out on a limb and to face maybe rejection or not living up to a certain standard. Let's say you decide to never have sex again. That's okay, because even when at night, when you don't have control, your body will give you erections anyway, because it wants to fill up that area with blood. This is a healthy thing to do. So again, it's not erectile dysfunction. That area most likely works. You just have mental difficulties with another human being. So let's take a look at some more of this here. 23% of men who are 35 years old and under have an issue now with erectile dysfunction. Think about that. That's 1 out of every 4 men under 35. That's not a physical issue. Again, it's a mental health issue. And 80% of men have watched porn in the last week. So if we extend that to be about a month, you're looking at about probably between 90 and 95% of men have looked at porn somewhat recently. That means that they're going through the sexual response cycle. But again, not with somebody else. By definition, that's not erectile dysfunction. So 33% of men who are 35 and under haven't had sex in over a year. Think about that. And that study was done in 2018, so we can't blame COVID for that. So that number is probably even closer to 50%, which is amazingly high. So again, we're looking at issues here that are more of the psychological variety. So I have it down to 2 contributing factors why people would have problems with partnered sex. And it comes down to this. Number 1, society, and 2, the mental issues that come along with that. So let's look at society. Too much social media, too much screen time, starting at a very young age, and it gets people used to sitting by themselves and not knowing how to connect to other people. Starting very young now, we have children who spend less time outdoors than prisoners that are in maximum security prisons, which that's amazing. Think about it. Like, how are we doing this with kids? And as they grow up, do they have play with other kids? Do they know how to connect to other people? Do they know how to share? Do they know how to think about other people before themselves? The answer is no. And what does all this lead to? No social skills, incredible narcissism. Again, why would you want to have sex with other people, or how could you care about pleasing other people when you spend most of your time by yourself, being afraid of other people, only trying to please yourself? We also have an increase in anxiety, an increase in depression, increase in suicides. We have an increase in anger. Does this seem like a person who really is going to be good in bed with another human being? Absolutely not. Let's continue. The inability to take responsibility for themselves or to care about other people. And some of the basic stuff, like failure to launch situations, right? Because we're looking at about 33% of 35 and under men not even having sex anymore. They're basically virgins. How does this happen? Too much marijuana, too many video games, and failure to launch. They don't desire to even have their own cars by percentage. I'm not saying none of them do, but if you look at it, they have an inability to acquire a car. Now, in years past, we would think that a car is essential by the time you're 16 years old. Why? Because a car is basically a bedroom on wheels, is it not? But I do a lot of therapy with young men, teenagers and men in their 20s. They don't even consider that. They don't care. You know, they don't even have enough money to rent a room somewhere. Does it bother them that much? Not really. So of course they're going to be leaning towards pornography and this inability to connect with other people. They're not even trying enough to get a car or their own place. So all of this comes into play. Nowadays, we're looking at young men, 35 and under, the testosterone is down by a lot. So much so that you can look back in the 1940s. In the 1940s, 50-year-old men had like twice the amount of testosterone than the 25-year-olds do now. Think about that for a second. See how that affects people and their sexuality. Again, drug use is up now. There's no ability to relate to human beings anymore. There's no ability to take criticism because their parents have coddled them so much. They don't work hard to improve. And how does that come into play with sex? It's a good question, because if you're asking that question, you don't know what it's like to be a man who cares about his sexuality. In order to be a man and be good in bed, it's an acquired skill. to be able to do the things and to be able to last long enough and to have the endurance and to be able to do that. You know, again, we'll talk about this in the benefits of porn, but one of the things that they say, pornography desensitizes you. Right, the last thing you need to do is to be more excited, right? Like yeah, no girl's gonna tell you that, right? Because the average guy lasts about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. Now you're gonna last, 15 seconds? Like, the idea is to be able to last longer, not to, so let's get into that on another show. The problem with porn now, compared to what it was in years past, is that porn right now, for the first time that I know of, it's being used as a coping skill to avoid intimacy. Because porn in the past was a gateway to being a fully engaged sexual adult. That's where the difference was. It was a moving through to be able to connect with another human being. Now it's used to stay in infancy, more like a Peter Pan type of effect. So no, pornography does not desensitize you to the human touch. It does not desensitize you to be intimate with another human being. Your environment has desensitized you. It's your lifestyle that has desensitized you. It's your own choices that have done that. It's your inability to reach out to people and to be able to talk to them, to be able to seduce, to be able to care about another human being. You know, and again, to be a little bit more graphic, if you're a young guy, and I'm not talking 12 years old, okay, because you'll see people say porn is bad for that, yeah, obviously, but I'm talking about men that are 18, 19, 20, up to 35 years old. How does playing with yourself improve you in bed to be able to please a woman? Now, I don't have a problem with a man being gay, but if we're talking about heterosexual sex, all you're doing is getting more and more experience with playing with your own penis. So how in the world is that going to make you any more valuable to a woman when she has all different body parts? It doesn't, right? It does go down to, again, lack of social skills and your narcissism. So we really need to clear up that before we can improve and use pornography as to be a benefit. Let's look at a few other things, because I hear this a lot. Somebody says, oh, but looking at these pictures, it's so exciting. These videos are amazing. It's so much better than a human being. Again, it doesn't make up for the human touch. What are you kidding? Like, you're justifying your mental health issue is what you're doing. Let's look at some other things, because sex is this loaded thought that people just go crazy. They don't think straight. So let's look at it in some different perspectives, right? So I live in Las Vegas. You can drive down the strip, go past New York, New York. Take a look at the roller coaster. Just sit there, watch it. Listen, you'll hear it. You'll hear people scream. It's pretty awesome. Take a picture of it. Do you actually think it's more exciting to look at it and to hear it a little bit than it is to actually buy a ticket and ride the roller coaster? Because if you do, it means you don't have the guts to get on the roller coaster. It means you have anxiety. It means you have maybe a fear of heights. It's not the roller coaster's fault. It's your fault. Example number 2. Go to a restaurant tonight. Sit down. Get the menu. Look at all the pretty pictures of the steak and the chicken and the vegetables. Read. It'll say, oh, it's this and it's in butter, and then, just read through. Then when the waiter or waitress comes by to take your order, say, no, I'm good. It's much more fulfilling to read and look at the pretty pictures of food than it is to actually eat it. Does that make sense to you? It could if you had an eating disorder. And only in that circumstance would looking at pictures actually be more satisfying than eating. Let me give you another example. Do you think that watching people dance is more fun than actual dancing? Now, I have an answer for this one because I was this guy. I would say, yeah, watching people dance is more fun than actual dancing. Does it mean that I'm right? No, it was because I was deficient, because I was self-conscious, I was insecure. I didn't think I knew how to dance and I didn't want to be judged. What's the difference between that and sex? Nothing. So I justified it that it's better to watch people dance and enjoy than it is to actually participate and actually be part of it and have a dance partner and have fun. It's a joke. That's not true at all. If you had self-esteem, if you weren't worried about being judged, you'd be out there on the dance floor now, wouldn't you? Yes. Dancing didn't cause the problem. The insecurity caused the problem. I'll give you one more example. See if I can get this here. You see this awesome guitar? How cool, right? You think it's better to stare at that guitar all day? Or do you think it would be more exciting to plug it in and play some chords and shake the windows, and have the vibrations move through your body? Of course, it's more exciting and better to play the guitar, right? But somebody out there is saying no. And you know why you're saying no? Because you're afraid to play. You're saying you don't have any skill. And you probably don't. Neither do I, really. But it takes practice, and it takes time, and it takes courage to do something you haven't done before, especially if you're going to do it around another person, because they can judge you. They can say you're good, you're not good. Or I've heard somebody else and they're better than you. How is that different than sex with another human being? So I think you get my point for today, is that definitively, let me say, pornography does not cause erectile dysfunction. It's your own inability to connect to human beings. That's what causes it. And erectile dysfunction, by definition, most men don't have that. If you can go through the sexual cycle by yourself, you don't have erectile dysfunction. Think about that. So hopefully today's show has been valuable to you, and I will do a show on the benefits of pornography as well. But you have to get past these barriers first, or else you won't get any benefit from it. So I'm Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.